waiting for the recording to start. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Raymond Castlelyn. I'm a digital construction lead on TransPennine West project, TRU like we call it. And today we're just going to have a bit of a presentation of digital at TransPennine and how we've implemented a few solutions along the way and what our plan is for the future. Okay, next slide, Shervin. So firstly, I'll give you a bit of a background of the project, what we're trying to achieve, the problem statement, and then some of the solutions we're looking at. I'll also discuss a little bit of a digital roadmap and plans going forward. And then I'll hand over to Shervin that will showcase a few of the achievements we've done so far and what we've done. And that will be followed by a Q&A at the end. Like we said before, if there's any questions, just put it in the chat and we can address them as we go through. So the background of the project, TRU is effectively a project between Manchester and York, split into two sections. And we're working on the western section that's between Manchester and Leeds. It's a 42 miles section of track, £2.5 billion budget, and project duration between 8 and 10 years. It's quite a complex multidisciplinary project. Like I said, 42 miles of track. There's 10 tunnels, 15 viaducts, 15 stations, over 200 underbridges, overbridges, footbridges. It includes civils, OLE, EMP, electrification, and all sorts. So it's quite complex and everybody needs to work together. One of the targets of our implementation is, if you look at the program at the bottom, that majority of the project is actually kicking off beginning of next year. So it's very important for us to get everything in place before the big work kicks off, just to ensure the systems and processes in place to take it forward. Next slide. So just to identify the problem, there was a study done by McKinsey a few years ago, and it was 2015. But it's still valid. And from there, they identified that construction is the second least industry. There's a lot of things that still being done by paper and very manual processes. So that's quite shocking if we look at construction that's got a 7% share of GDP. We've got 4% of all the employees. Our productivity has gone down over the last 10 years by 3.5%. And if we compare it to the other industries in the economy, we're 7.5% off the rest of the industry. So we're massively lagging with anything else. And also, if we look at mega projects, there was also part of the study McKinsey's done that the average overrun for mega project is 20 months, and cost overruns is averaged by 80%. 80% of all projects got cost overruns. So we do have a big problem that we need to address and try to take it forward. So that's why we looked at, okay, where can we start to improve construction? And the best way to look at it is, okay, let's go to the top. Let's have a look at IT. What have they done? What have they improved? And if there's anything we can learn from it or ideas we can steal and maybe customize it for construction, that will really help us, at least addressing some of the high risk items, and then we can move on as we progress over the years. So that's where we come to the story of A to Z, Amazon. So people might think Amazon and construction's got nothing to do with each other, but there's a lot of overlaps. So one example is, I want to buy my mountain bike. Currently, I can go on my phone. I can click, select what type of mountain bike I want, what make and model, what color, what frame size, the types of tires. I can even go through the options to say, okay, what's the cost? How much am I going to pay? How am I going to pay it? It's going to be a card, cash, credit, and I can also select the delivery date. That's all automated. And then all I do is one click, press the button, and it will be delivered to my house. So what Amazon's really brought us was a one-click ordering. It's fast, it's flexible, it's affordable, traceable, and most importantly, it's repeatable. So if I had to order the same, go back again. So if I had to do the same thing 100 times, buy the same bicycle, the same thing will happen. I know in 1 week's time it will arrive, and we've taken all the errors out of the process. If I had to do this with a procurement system, traditional procurement system, I would have to write an email to somebody to get a quote, to place an order, do everything else, get authorization, get a sign in. And by the time the order is placed, we're looking at a month down the line. So we're looking at ways, how can we actually streamline this whole, it's not just to do with procurement, to do with all the process we've got. Yes, Shervin? So if you just look at the ecosystem of how Amazon works, Amazon is an IT company. Amazon is not really a delivery company. Everything is automated. Everything is IT driven. We have the customer doing all the heavy lifting. So they do the searches, they do the selection of what they need to buy. They can do their own research to say what's the quality of the product, and then they'll place the order. The payments are automated, automatically sent to the supplier, and then either via fulfillment center, it will be loaded onto a wagon, or it will send somebody that will just ship it from their own warehouse. They will ship to site and it delivered to the customer. If the customer asks for a delivery ticket or quality record, or they want to ship it back as a return, all of that's also automated. So the human intervention in this whole process is effectively only the warehouse where it's loaded and the delivery to your house. Everything else happens instantaneous. So that's where we want to get. If I want to order, for instance, a precast unit, I can send the design to the manufacturer. They give a quote, place the order. Immediately, we have all the quality records, all the order trail that comes to site. And the same we could do with rail, we could do with OE stanchions, and so on. It is the final aim to have something that's fully integrated, but we do understand it's going to take us a few years to get there. Sure. So this is where we look at the power of tiny gains. It's a principle that's been used a lot over the years, especially in sport improvement. It's if you can do something 1% better every day for a year, you'll be 37% better at that one task than you were at the beginning of the year. So if we apply this to automating a process, automating a system, or try to improve something we're doing on site, if we just look at the small gains at the start, we can actually end up having a significant increase efficiency gain along the end. So from McKinsey's study as well, they pointed out that there's a 15% cost saving possible just by digitizing a lot of construction processes. There was also one about efficiency savings. So there's cost savings. I don't know if it's on here, but it's also around the 10% saving on efficiencies. So our specific aim is if we can get everybody on the alliance to save 1 hour per day, I think we've achieved our goal. And it's very easy to say, okay, the person on site completing a quality record and chasing records, chasing documents. So if we can save that person 1 hour a day by digitizing, say, the daily diaries, digitizing some of the completion records or close calls and so on, we've done our job. And then over the years, we can just try and increase it and improve it as we go along. So the question is, how does this relate to Transpennine? So on Transpennine, we do have a lot of processes. We have a lot of different teams. We have quality teams, we have procurement, we have different disciplines, track, civils, OLE. We've also got different NOPs. NOP is effectively the contractors, that's BAM, AME, Siemens, so on. So everybody's got their own little niche and their own processes. So what we're looking at, how can we bring everything together? How can we look at, say, procurement process between BAM, Amy, Siemens, and how can we streamline it all? Or how can we improve the quality process? So like an ITP that feeds into a quality inspection, how can we improve that process? What also feeds into this, go back, sure. What also feeds into this is network rail as the client. So they've also got requirements that we have to report on the number of OLE bases being installed for the week, or the number of sheet pile walls being installed. So as soon as we interlink all of this, we can actually report to the client. They want it in real-time basis, almost like a daily report. But you can only do this if you take a step back and start the process quite early on. Just linking everything together. Yes, Shervin. So this is a study we've done about 2 years ago, prior to the digital team starting, and it's been might be 2.5 years ago. And we just looked at that point in time, how many records do we produce on the project? So we probably have about 1,500 staff at the moment, and we're looking at 3.5 at peak. We looked at the number of shifts completed, so it's almost 1 million shifts, to 24 million miles traveled, a lot of clocking events, safety briefings, work package plan briefings, your normal training. There's a lot of photo records, delivery tickets. So we can quickly see there's quite a lot of information floating around. Majority of it is still paper-based. Some of it's not even being recorded. So if we go down the line of trying to digitize the health and safety file, the handover package for the client at the end, if we just use 1% of every single item that's listed there, it's quite a big loss down the line. So we might not have records to prove that a base got installed. We might not have a photo showing that we repaired a sewer underneath a structure. So what we're trying to do is reduce the misfiling rate by digitizing the process and really focusing on the data input. As soon as the data is inputted digitally, along the line, we can do whatever we need to do with it by mixing and matching it with other systems. Sure. So this is a little bit of an overview of our strategy on the slide. Not going to a lot of details. I'll just touch a few items here. So if we just look at integration. So this is about standardization of systems. We're currently using an Autodesk system for quality on civils, using every file, we're using Helix Rails, we're using about 3 different quality systems. And there's nothing wrong with using 3 different systems. The main thing is as long as we can link them together for our reporting. So I think that's quite important. It doesn't matter if you use different solutions, as long as it's the same goal at the end, and as long as we can link them together. And then I'll just jump through to say alpha safety, close call reporting. So we have a close call app at the moment that's rolled out across the alliance, but also building a bespoke alliance close call app. And the plan then is that I can complete a quality record, for instance, and there's a close call on the shift. I don't have to go to a different app to create the close call. Plan is I can go in my quality record, create a close call straight away, and it should publish to the same register. And we can actually streamline the process of closing it out, reporting, automatic emails to people say it's been a close call last night, etc. So all of that's already in place, and we do it quite well. Go to planning and controls. I'll just mention one there. Shervin will go in more detail. So 4D planning, that's effectively your 3D model binding together with a program. So animations. So we started that last year during the summer blockade. That was about June, July. And since then, we've rolled it out across the whole alliance. And I would say that's one of the more difficult ones to sell to the alliance, to take it on board. But as soon as we've proven the value, everybody wants it now. It really helped us to de-risk the program, communicate the constraints and what we're trying to achieve and how we want to go forward, planning work and de-risking the project. So I'll just go down to there's one important one, quality. So the last one on quality is about a digital handover. So that's been aimed from the start. It's like, how can we create a handover file by just clicking one button? I don't think we'll ever get to one button, but I'm trying my hardest to get to it. Where we can say a bridge's been installed, pull all data through from different systems. We have all the digital forms, we have the ITPs, we have all the check sheets, and we just say generate, and it pulls out and it generates me a digital handover file that we can just give to the client, and then ideally publish it to ProjectWise. So that's our end game, to get to the digital handover. And everything you're looking at here, or 80% of it, is needed to be able to achieve that. So this is a bit of a overview of our roadmap. We had a few delays and red tape to roll some of it out, but we've just been given a go ahead today, so I think some of it will accelerate quite quickly in the next few months. So again, if we just go through it, say 2021, so we had a few things there about using something like tracker on Wave, where we can actually track people in possessions. So we have a tracker on the cause, for instance, and we can see where the cause or where the work group is on the possession. We can see the marker boards that are out there. We can also see if there's any earth straps on the OLE sanctions. So that's one thing we wanted to do in 21. We couldn't do it, but we're going ahead, so we should be able to go ahead now in December, January. We will go live. And then there's just a lot of other things there. Yeah, I would say 80% of what we're looking here we've done already. But we just got a lot of small projects that just on hold. Shervin. So without being too technical about the left-hand side, so the left-hand side is what my team look at. So we look at the data infrastructure. We look at the complex under the hood type of mechanics, how everything works. But important part is we want the teams to interface with dashboards. So everything is in the right-hand side. The control room, you have your Power BI dashboards, you have your time-lapse videos there, we have our 4D animations. We want people to interface with the easy-to-use dashboards. And we can do all the difficult stuff at the end. So we're trying to move away from people downloading Excels, trying to create filters, create macros and graphs and all sorts by automating everything down the end and giving them only the information they need to make the right decisions for the project. Okay, sure. So just part of this, so yes, we've got a strategy, we've got a plan, but how does this work with Net2Grow? Because Net2Grow's got a plan as well. So when we started this journey, there was a bit of, I wouldn't say confusion, it was more of the distrust that we're doing our own thing. And when we started working through a few workshops, we quickly realized that we're all aiming in the same direction. So what we're doing perfectly aligned with Net2Grow. We were actually slightly ahead of them. And over time now, we've been working together collaboratively to get to the same point. So we're using Net2Grow's iModel Hub for model sharing. We're using 4D planning software that they supply, and our handover documents and everything else, delivery management, everything perfectly aligns going forward. So I feel that Transpenine will become an example project in the next few years when all these boxes are ticked and we have everything perfectly aligned, but we're all working in the same direction. So I don't know why this slide is here again. Skip. So just to summarize our team. So we have one purpose. The purpose and aim probably interchangeable. It's to ensure that all processes are aligned. We're not trying to just find in something flashy and just give it to the team, say, see what we've seen, just let's try and use it. It's more of a long-term view of how can we align systems, how can we align processes, how can we just align the process to help people on site. Myself, I come from construction. I work in construction as an engineer, as a project manager. So for me, the value is giving the people on site the best tools and to help them make the work easier. And the final output is really about reducing the project risk, increasing the safety performance of the project, and ensuring the quality of the work. Sure. Okay, Shervin will probably talk through this when he does his presentation, but I'll just give a quick overview. So there's a few things that we aim to achieve. It's about better communication and collaboration. If you have the right information in front of you, you can make the correct decisions for that point in time. The summer blockade was a good example where there was a few things that happened on site that caused an hour delay, 2 or 3 hours delay. But because we had a time lapse that was effectively a live view, we had up-to-date reports from site. The stakeholders that was in the control room could make immediate decision to move it forward. Instead of waiting for a report to come through a few hours later, we could make it there and then, and it effectively de-risked the project. We also aim to create more effective working practices. The procurement one is a good example. Instead of me emailing somebody to get a quote, to wait for the quote to come back, to place an order that needs to be signed off by somebody, and it's just a massive long audit trail, or it's just a flow of information is so slow. How can we do something to improve it? How can we do something to speed it all up? But then it's about improved safety, environmental, and quality performances, and then it's about the impact of stakeholders. So if we delay the project, there's definitely going to be more cost. It's going to be more disruption for third parties, and we're working on a public project here. So we need to ensure what we're doing is the right thing for everybody involved. I think the next one is implementing solutions. So I'm going to hand over to Shervin, and Shervin will just go through a few of the solutions we implemented and just discuss how it created value for the project. Thank you, Shervin.
Thank you, Raymond. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Shervin Yousefzadeh, Digital Construction Manager, working for BAM Natal, and also in charge of the Transpennine Route Upgrade projects at the West Alliance. In the next couple of slides, I'm going to show you some of the hardware and software that we have implemented. But it is important to mention that the key to unlock the potential of all these solutions that we have implemented is the informations. Without having the right information and the right content, it's just a piece of expensive hardware in your office. So it is very important to think about the data and the content before buying any solutions. And that's what we did. So before the start of the projects, we start to write a strategy, a digital strategy for the projects. So before buying any technology, we knew exactly what we are going to buy, for what reason, and what we should expect from that technology. So it is important to know that the information is the key to unlock the construction potential. So one of the solutions that have been implemented by the client and the Jacobs and in charge of that is a digital twin. Basically, digital twin is where we have all our models federated. We can federate it with the context model as well, with reality capture. So it's basically our iTwin or digital twin management system. It can also be linked. It's an open source platform, so it can be linked to other solutions that I'll show you in my presentations. the good point about using this type of technology and link that to other technologies, we are reducing the risk of using on superseded models. So we know that the model that we are using is always the most up-to-date one, because as soon as they upload the new models on Project Wise, which is our CDE, the models on Digital Twin or our iTwins will be updated. And then if it's linked to other solutions like safety-based or VTIS, that I'll talk about them the next couple of minutes, we know that it is the latest model. So one of the key technologies that we have implemented was, is in our digital control room. The picture that you see is from the NASA control room. So that photo really inspired us to think about having something similar in a smaller scale for the project at this scale. The summer blockade was a good example. We had to manage 5 projects at the 5 different locations at the same time. So we knew that we needed, we need to have all the discipline lead in one room. And that's why we start to think about having something similar to the NASA control room. And we thought, okay, if that works for NASA 70 years ago, why we're still pushing for the analog? Why are we still pushing for the paper? But in order to pursue the business and sell the idea to the business, we decided to digitally build it before basically build it on site. So for that reason, we came with the different design options. We finalized the design, and I modeled and created the walkthrough to the future control room. And we start to show that to the end users. So as you can see, when we enter into the collaboration hall, which I will show you the real photos in minutes, you have about 6 screens, 6 touch screens. 3 screens are dedicated to the lean, and 3 screens are dedicated to the digital constructions. And we try to show what we are going to show on each screen, like the dashboard, 360 photos, time-lapse photos, the position controls. And also we show them that the collaboration hall will also have a meeting room with another touch screen, where if they need to have a private room or a private area or quiet area to have their meetings, they can have that in the collaboration hall as well. And also we show them that there will be another room in the collaboration hall, which is we call it beam cave. Basically, it's an immersive room. When we start to think about this, it was in the middle of the pandemic, and we wanted to use virtual reality, but we knew it's not safe anymore. We cannot share one headset with lots of people. So instead of having one headset, we turned one room into the virtual room, or immersive room. So we have the mission room, which is called, or we call it beam cave. There are 3 screens to cover 270 degrees from floor to ceiling screens. Again, touch, and it can be used for the site briefing, for health and safety, for design reviews, lots of reasons which I will explain in a couple of minutes. So we created that animations, we showed to the end users, and that was when we got the buy-in from the project. But as I mentioned, the information is more important than having the right hardware. So we wanted to provide the informations across the projects, to write informations from one single source of the truth. So that's why we knew that we need to move to the cloud. We use Microsoft Teams at that time. We are now having our own data warehouse. But at that time, a year ago, we used Microsoft Teams to link all the information from the scattered data silos into one place. So from that one place, the information can be streamed to the collaboration hub. It can be streamed to the beam cave, or people at home, they can just connect to the Teams and see exactly the same informations. We also have the Clever Touch screens. Again, these are the biggest screens that we have in our meeting room. Also, that one is also linked to this single source of the truth. So we know that everybody will have access to the same data at the same time with the internet connections. So this is basically our beam caves. If I go back, in the right-hand side, you can see the actual collaboration hub. I show you the animations, but in the right-hand side, you can see 2 photos from the collaboration hub. You can see there are 6 screens, all touch, and it was used for the first time during the summer blockade. So all discipline leads from EMI, Arab, BAM, Siemens, and Networel were in the same room for 24 hours for 16 days. and they manage 5 projects at the same time. What you can see at the top, they are looking at the time-lapse photos. So there were 5 cameras set up at the 5 locations, stream photos every 2 minutes back to the control room. So they could see exactly what's going on the project without the need to travel to the site. So that reduced the travel to the site significantly during the summer blockade. I mentioned about the blockade. I mentioned about the beam cave. As you can see, we can have the, our 4D animations running within the beam caves. 2 screens show the simulation or construction sequence, and then the left screen shows the actual all the activities that are coming from the P6. The picture below you again show the 4D animations, but it can be used for the design reviews. They can add the markups or whatever they want to the screen. Fantastic tool, fantastic technologies. We receive lots of positive feedback from the end users on site. The next technology that I'm going to show you is called VGIS. Basically, it's an augmented reality technology. Again, as I mentioned, it's linked to the eye model. So the model that we have are our digital twin. It can be linked to the VGIS. And with the VGIS, you can overlay the models on a real world. So you go to the site, you can use your phone or your tablets. You can link it to the GPS to improve the accuracy. And then based on the coordination of the models, it overlaid on where you are. So fantastic tool. We had some issues. We had to put a hold. The reason we put a hold on this technology because the field of the depth of the view wasn't great, and it's not because of this technology. I think the AR technology is not yet there to be relied on. It's a fantastic tool for visualizations, but if you want to just fully rely on this, we thought that it's not yet ready. But they're still working in the background with our feedbacks to make it ready for our projects to be used. Raymond mentioned briefly about the 4D management. So left-hand side, you can see the old way, having the P6, everything were 2D on the whiteboard. We wanted to introduce a new way, having to see everything in the 3D. See all the activities, all the actions in 3D. Because some people like me have a better understanding when it comes to the 3D. You can see more issues and hazards when it's visualized, when you see the sequencing in a environment. So as an example, we started for the Queens Road. That was our first project that we basically, the model was ready. We just link it to the 4D model. We use the Synchro Pro, which is our 4D tool, basically. And we try to create these 4D and its animations or 4D simulations at least a month or 2 months in advance. And for these examples, by showing the site teams and planners these animations 2 months in advance, they changed the construction methodology because they could see some, constraint, and they thought, okay, if we use this type of scaffolding, we can get a better result, or we can do more jobs in a shorter period of time. It shows all the activities. It shows when the handover. It shows the exact location of the plant, so you can easily identify all the risks and hazards that may occur on live projects. So by doing the rehearsal, they try to identify the issues and resolve them way in advance. So that definitely having a great impact on the efficiency of the projects, because during the summer blockade, these animations was used every morning for the site teams to do the site briefings, so they knew exactly what's going to happen when, because you can see top right, it's timestamp and data stamp, so they knew exactly what's going to happen. So it improved the communications and collaboration significantly, and you can see the details that we put in our animations. I'll talk about the level of details later on, because some of you may know there is no standard in the construction industry when it comes to the 4D. We basically develop a standard. We try to align it to the ISO 19650, and we created 3 different level of detail, or LOD. I'll explain later on, but basically we developed a standard to standardize or create a consistent approach when it comes to the 4D animation. I'm going to skip this. I really like this photo. Basically, the left-hand side is a photo, a screenshot from the 4D animations that I show you. The right-hand side is a photo taken on site. So basically, this shows the value of the 4D animations. The difference between the time that we were expecting to set up the last concrete beam and the time that it was actually set up was only 10 minutes difference. So that shows how the 4D animations can help you to stay on track or on program. I mentioned about the level of details, so you can see we have three different level of details. The first one is the high levels, 2D over from the top. So it shows the construction sequence, but not in the detail. So the 3D models or 2D. The level of detail 2 basically shows the construction sequence, but there is no movement. There is no plan movement or any activity. And level of detail 3, basically everything moves. All the plans show the movement of the plan, show the location of the all the teams. So very, very detailed animations. We created a promo video for our 4D. I'll show you in the next slide. It's very briefly also explain what's a 4D, what's the benefits, and also different level of detail. It's just about a minute, so I'm going to play that one.
Shervin, there's no sound on that if you want to give some commentary.
Okay, sorry. Let me see if I can share. I thought I shared with the sound. 2 seconds. Okay. Sorry for that. Okay. So basically, this was just to raise awareness across the project because this is a huge project and not everybody knows what we are doing. So we created these promo videos. We started to do show and tell sessions across the lines to tell them these are the services that we can provide for the project. But we wanted to take it one step further, basically. So that's why we started to think about, okay, what you can see in the screen is this is a 4D created by Synchro. It needs a 3D modeler. It needs someone with a good knowledge of the Synchro Pro to create these animations. It's not something that PSI teams can create it for their projects. So for a smaller projects, we decided to find a way that people can create, a basic, not as detailed as this one, but a basic 4D animations themselves. So that's why, if I skip it a little bit, that's why we started to move to the Unreal Engine. So Unreal Engine is basically a gaming engine. You can import the models, but if you can, this is at the the proof of concept at the moment. In the right-hand side, you can see there's a library of the component, and anyone with no knowledge of the 3D model is on 4D can just select the items from the library, drag and drop it into the project. So the site teams, without any knowledge of the 3D modeling and 4D, they can create a basic for the simulations, site management, logistics plan, compound manage, design the plan for the compound. So this is actually our next step. We want everybody to be able to create, a basic 4D animations. If the project is not that complex, we want them to be able to create it themselves. If it's too complex, like the project that we see here, we will do it with the help of, the third-party companies who are specialized in creating 4D animations. But that's basically our next step in 4D. So, next slide. Okay. The other technology that we have our projects is called HoloBuilder. Okay. So basically, HoloBuilder is a platform where you can capture 360 photos and store them on basically on that platform. So as you can see in the left-hand side, it shows it has the aerial shots at the top left, and each yellow circle represents one 360 photos captured on that locations. And as you can see on the videos, you can even embed 2D photos or more detailed photos. You can embed PDF, videos, audios to those views. Very similar to the Google Street View, but the only difference or the big difference is, first of all, it's most up to date. You can update, or the site teams updating the photos every week or every month. And also, Google Street View cannot get access to the rail track, but we can get access to the rail track and or ask the site teams to take photos while they're on the rail tracks. We did an ROI on this project, and the ROI was about 14:1, and also it significantly reduced the site visit during the pandemic. Because people or designers are across the UK. They're not all, not everybody based in Manchester. So some of them are in Scotland. They just log into the projects. They go to the sections that they're working on, and they can see the 360 photos or the most up-to-date photos from the projects without the need to travel. Also, as you can see in the videos, you can do the side-by-side comparison. So if you take photos in a different months or weeks, you can split the screen. So set one screen to the, for example, the photo taken last week, and another one to the last year, and then you can check the progress of what's happened in during that period. So very fantastic tool to check the progress of the projects for the lab survey, for the quality assurance at the end of the project, or for any claims that may raise in the future. Great. So just to summarize, some of the benefit that we have realized so far by implementing some of these solutions is first of all, we try to centralize information, so definitely improve the collaborations, and we could see that during the summer blockade. We reduce the unnecessary and duplicated communications because, as I mentioned, we try to link all the information to one place, to the one cloud service. We try to automate the process. We have a solutions during the summer blockade built in-house. It generates, the silver, bronze, and gold reports every 4 hours and every 12 hours automatically based on the input, but it generates a report and circulates it automatically. So that's one of our key purpose, to automate the process. Providing live feed or via the time lapse or the BI dashboard is that's another achievement, which really helpful. It's very helpful across the projects, and reduce the response time because we want everybody to have access to the right data at the same time across the project. So that was basically a summary of some of the solution that we have implemented. There's lots of information that I couldn't basically touch because of the time. We have data capturing tools like Beam 360 Field, Helitrade. All the information on site are being captured digitally on the iPads, and then all the information are stored back to the cloud. And then from that cloud, we can generate dashboard to see exactly what's happening, how many checks has been completed, how many issues or NCRs been raised. So we have a clear visibility on the project progress, on the quality, and also health and safety. So that was just a couple of solutions that we have implemented so far. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time. Now I think it's time for the Q&A.
Yeah, I'm just answering a few on the chat.
Yeah, so do you want to work through those, Raymond, and shall we go from the top? Is that okay?
Yeah.
So Mr. Wells asked, is it scalable for small projects?
Yeah, so I've answered yes, it is. So
Okay.
we try to use solutions that majority of companies have access to, like our control room. If you can use a computer, you can use a control room. We use Microsoft Forms, we use Microsoft Solutions, we use Microsoft Teams as the database of all the information. So that makes, as long as you have a team of a Microsoft team, you can link it to the control room and you can use it. If you start looking at something like 4D, as long as you have access to the software, you can use it on a project. Doesn't matter if it's a £1 million project or if it's a few £1 billion project.
Okay.
The one thing I just highlighted in the chat as well, the main thing is you need the right people. If you want to do a 4D animation, you can't expect a trainee engineer to just build it for you. So there will be need to be some investment to get the right people to just tick the right boxes, move it forward.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I think there's probably some of those people on the call today. But let's see how things develop. So Andrew Craven's got a comment there about, can digital models be used in the health and safety files as a date stamped record of assets? I think that's something you alluded to at some stage.
Yeah. Okay. So what we're doing is, this has gone back about 2.5 years. I started the conversation with the design teams. So the first thing we need a model to be coded. So just to have an object that's a bridge and it's not coded to say this is bridge MVM/07, there's no way for us to actually identify and link it and say to a quality record. So the first thing we have to do is we have to link the bridge structure to an integral ID and to give it some parameters. So say it's under bridge, it's concrete, etc. And then we can link it together. So Integral's been spending a lot of time and designers over the last few months to actually push this forward. We've already got some of it linked. That's in project-wise, and that's also in iModel. And a lot of our quality records are also already coded. So it will take us about 18 months to link it all up and make it to work. But the plan is really about having that digital asset with all the quality assurance records then linked to it. And that should achieve the final handover date stamp.
Right. Richard Wells has put another question about, are the graphics derived from the BIM models or generated from scratch?
Yeah. So we use the BIM models as a start. Sometimes the materials that's applied to it is not very great, not good. Also, some of the colors. So project-wise uses green, red, blue as your basic colors, and it doesn't always work in a say animation. So we'll just have to put it in. We take it out, and then we might clean it up, apply different materials to it, and then we use it. There's a few cases where we have surrounding buildings. We have a crane working close to buildings or surrounding roads where we don't have the models. So there we will actually model that separately and pull that into the animation to use. We also give that to the design team. So sometimes they actually upload it to iModel as well. So everybody's got access to information.
Oh, okay. Richard Murph has got a question in there. This is the first time I've seen BIM extended so far. Hugely impressive. Couple of questions. As designers, is it business as usual for us in terms of project-wise model and drawing control? That was one question. And the next one is about how quickly can the system adapt if there are unforeseen issues on site and the program is delayed?
So Synchro, you can actually update every hour if you want to.
Oh.
So if you have a planner available, we decided not to do it in our summer blockade. So somebody else mentioned Primavera as well. So it's using Primavera as a backend. So you could update the Primavera, press refresh, and it updates the Synchro model. Or you can just use Synchro, and you can actually have your planner there, updating every task. And then when the shift change happens, you know exactly where you are on the animation. If you can use your Primavera P6 planning tool, you should be able to use Synchro as well. It works very much the same. A few extra steps.
Okay, notice someone's got a hand up, but you've answered some of them. You're talking about Synchro. There's one query here about, are there any difficulties in training all the users to the same level of competence?
There's always some challenges there. I think that's the focus of us using like the control room screens. It's effectively a computer. If you can use a computer, if you have the ability to click through an old computer, you should be able to use the control room. So that's straightforward. If you can use something like YouTube and Vimeo, you can view the videos. To start to get into the technical part to build the animation itself, there's not a lot of people in the country that can do it. So competencies there is definitely a challenge. That's why I said about the right people. But I would say the training is in hand. And so far, we've not had a big challenge. The challenge is more about people being willing to adapt to something new rather than getting people trained up.
Just add something to that, David. So the summer blockade, as I mentioned, was the first time we used the control room. And for that reason, one of us was in the room all the time. So we divided that 24 hours between ourselves. And we made sure that there's always one person from the digital construction in the room just to support, because at the start, yes, as you may expect, they were afraid of the technology using these screens. But at the end of the summer blockade, since the summer blockade, I haven't received any call or any emails that we need help to run, to use the collaboration hub. So they are using it very well. So, but the support is a big thing. So as long as the teams understand that there's always a support, there's someone from the team, digital or IT, there to support them, I think that would help them to interact more with the technologies or innovative technologies.
Okay, there was somebody who had their hand up a few minutes ago. It's not there now, so I think you've answered most of the questions as we've gone through quickly. Is this shared across the whole? Oh, sorry, Julian Heathcote, do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, hoping you can hear me okay.
Yeah.
Is it possible? I mean, it's very impressive. So, well done for getting it off the ground. I think it's been, it's going to be extremely useful. Is it possible to have the time locked for certain activities? So, for example, say you've got a digger unloading ballast from a train or loading ballast, and you could say, right, well, a digger can load the train, 20 wagons or whatever in X number of hours, and therefore if I have 2 diggers I can halve the time potentially. Is it possible to lock it like that, so that if for some reason you make a mistake, you can then therefore identify that possibly you haven't got enough equipment on site and that sort of thing?
Yes, you can, but it depends how your P6 is set up.
Right.
You can set up your P6 and you can actually lock the start and end time. You can lock it. It's pinned. Doesn't matter what happens around it. So my train arrives at 11:30 at night. That's not going to change. Okay, it could be an hour later.
Yeah,
but you can lock that. To work out the duration based on your standard, say we offload 100 tons an hour.
Yep.
That's a little bit more difficult. I don't know enough about P6 to be able to do it, but I know the activity itself, you can physically pin it down. That will show you there will be a knock-on effect delay if anything else is a bit later.
The reason I asked questions, we had an incident at Shields Road, probably about, well, quite some time ago now, just outside Glasgow, where we were relaying the track. And unfortunately, we didn't order enough cranes and slings for moving the track. I think it was mainly the slings rather than the cranes. With the result, the possession overran quite spectacularly, I think by about 2 days. Because literally there was not enough track, and there was not enough, they hadn't ordered enough equipment to do the work. Of course, the equipment could only work as fast as it could work, and it's a case of like, well, okay, if you could lock it and say, right, one piece of equipment can do it in this time, before you get to that stage and say, oh, hang on, I've made a mistake here, there's an error, I need to sort that out before we start work, otherwise we're going to have a major problem. And it's that, so you lock it in that side, so it doesn't bleed off P6, it literally bleeds off, I know that one piece of equipment can only work at that speed. So if I want to have more time, if I haven't got enough time, it'll then show up and say, right, okay, fine, I'm going to have a problem.
Yes, so P6 can be used interlinked. Someone else asked a question as well. So P6 can be used as the planning program, and we link it to Synchro. Or otherwise, we can import the P6 into Synchro and use Synchro as the planning tool. So it's your choice. But yeah, we don't have that, or I'm not aware of the production rate to say I can only do 25 meters per hour. There's 400 hours, and now suddenly there's a problem. I'm not aware of it. I might be completely wrong. I might be, but I'm not aware of it doing it.
Sorry, it's always like the people who are using it want more than what the people who are doing it can do. They produce a very good product, and then someone says, "Oh, can we have this or can we have that?" So no, okay, fine, no, that's absolutely excellent. So if there is a limitation there, then that's great, as long as you know about it.
But I don't think it's impossible, because I know Microsoft Project and those things, you can actually use it. You can drive your program based on quantities. So I've got 500 to install, 25 an hour, and it drives it that way. So I'm sure there's a way to do it, but physically, I don't know. I've never done it.
Oh, okay, fine, excellent. Thank you very much indeed.
Just bearing in mind timescales, and there's still some questions coming in. I don't know if Raymond and Shervin, whether you're willing to, just as Carl, Thomas, and I think Colin and Rob have put some questions in there. So, well Rob's going. I think I'd probably like to bring the meeting to an end.
There's only one question. I think Raymond answered to the call question. There's one question from Thomas asking about how basically coordinate the informations between the animator and also the planners. Basically, there's a startup meetings at the start of each for the animations, and there are regular meetings between the planners, site teams, and also first between planners and the animators or the 4D specialists, and then in the later stage between the construction team, planners, and the animators. So they're all coordinated and aligned.
Okay, I think we'll bring the meeting to an end. I think just as a vote of thanks, I think it's probably difficult to do a round of applause when you're in a meeting, but one thing I would like to, I don't know, maybe people can mute themselves and say thank you, but one thing I would like to say is, are you doing anything on the 2nd of March next year? We've got a delivering digitally seminar, and I think what you've shared today and some of the questions that's triggered, this would be ideal for it to be shared across the programme.
That's fine, yeah.
Well, yeah. Thank goodness you said yes. Okay, thank you very much. And if people want to do a virtual, whatever they want to do, I don't know. Give it a go.
Yeah,
if anybody's got any questions, feel free to share our emails to them. We're here to support the industry, not just locked to the audio.
Very impressive. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Thanks very much, guys. Thank you.